Crazy coincidences you won't believe are true. 40 years ago, a 17-year-old boy was knocked off of his moped and killed by a taxi in Bermuda. The world was shocked by this because almost exactly 1 year prior, his also at the time 17-year-old brother was hit by a taxi and killed on the exact same street while riding on the exact same moped. Now you're thinking, okay, mopeds are somewhat dangerous, maybe they both were reckless drivers, they live in the same neighborhood, so it's likely that he was on the same moped and got hit on the same street. Well, it gets even weirder. The taxi that hit the second brother was the same exact taxi that hit the first brother. Not only that, but it was the same taxi driver that hit both brothers. The taxi driver was also carrying the exact same passenger in both accidents. Robert Morgan wrote The Wreck of the Titan in 1898, and there's some uncanny similarities between the fictional book and the actual events of the Titanic. He named the ship Titan, which both the names Titan and Titanic mean unsinkable. Both ships ran into trouble when they hit icebergs on the starboard side of the ship. They were both 400 miles off Newfoundland in the North Atlantic when they sank, both on April nights. The ships were nearly identical in length, speed of movement, and total capacity of passengers. In both cases, the passengers suffered tragically due to a shortage of lifeboats. This band was struck by lightning 7 times, yes, 7 times, and survived all of them. Roy Sullivan, aka the Human Lightning Rod, was a park ranger in Virginia that still holds the Guinness World Record for being struck by lightning more than any other human on Earth. He was struck in his front yard, outside of a fire lookout tower, and even one time while he was in his pickup truck, a lightning bolt struck a tree next to him and it deflected into his open window, searing his arm and knocking him unconscious. While he was fishing, lightning struck directly on his head, setting his hair, eyelashes, and eyebrows on fire. Shortly after he was struck by lightning in this moment, he had to strike a bear in the face because it was coming to the pond to steal the trout on his fishing line. Sullivan struggled later in life, claiming that people just thought he was really bad luck and they did not want to be around him. He recalls the feeling in multiple of these incidences that he was literally being followed by the storm clouds. He always kept a bucket of water in his truck to make sure he was always prepared. His death, however, was caused by a gunshot and not a lightning strike. One night, a woman and her friend were pulling into Taco Bell when they almost hit a guy on a bike. He flipped over his handlebars but got up while the cars were being funneled into the drive-thru, so the drivers didn't say anything. Fast forward years later, the woman and her friend were hanging out with the woman's husband, who started telling a story about how he was on his way to his cousin's house on his bike when he flipped over on his handlebars. The woman's friend jokingly said, "Was it in front of a Taco Bell?" Which he replied, "Yes, it was right in front of a Taco Bell and I almost got hit by a car." In 2002, a pair of 70-year-old twins died on the same day. Both men were struck and killed by trucks on the same stretch of road about a mile apart within 2 hours of each other. The last twin to die had no knowledge of his brother's death when he set out on his own bike. A woman moved to a different city and got a job at a hotel. She met her boyfriend working there, and early in their relationship, they were talking about where they lived, and she mentioned her street. He said he had just moved from that street. Turns out her boyfriend not only lived in the exact same house, but in the exact same room that she did. In 1950, a church in a small Nebraska town exploded. The explosion happened at 7:25 p.m., and choir always started on those nights at 7:20 p.m. All 15 members were all late to choir that day for their own personal reasons and were nowhere near the church when it exploded. Follow for more crazy coincidences.